Okay, and welcome back. This is going to be really fascinating, I guarantee it. We're going to talk to a gentleman I haven't spoken to in far too many years. His name is John Lenard Walson. John Walson, it's got to be 10 years ago now, began to send me videos and some still pictures of things that he was able to image with his telescope, going out to the English countryside at night, setting up his scope, cold, warm, it didn't matter. He was always looking. And he would find things up there in orbit, near orbit, deep orbit. I don't know how deep they were, but they were up there. And when you look at them through the telescope, they'd look like a star, just a little white dot. John somehow was able to adjust that telescope to the point that when he began to focus and zoom in on the object, it got bigger and bigger and bigger. And then it got to be scary because you saw an obvious machine. No, not a satellite, a machine, as in spaceship, spacecraft. Remember the secret space fleet? These things came one after another after another. I put so many pictures up. We did many programs, talked on air and off air about this. He began to get hassled at home by the British government, helicopters over his house. And I'm talking about big helicopters right over his house. He could have thrown a rock and hit one. They came that close. We'll get into that in a little bit. Now, what I'd like to do is first say hello to my friend John Lenard Walson, and then we're going to say hello to our second guest as well. John, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes, Jeff. Nice to hear you again.
Oh, yeah. It's been too long, John. I'm very glad that we got this connection put together. We want to thank, of course, Frank Chile for helping with all of this. And you've got a gentleman with you who works on this, I guess, with you. His name is Marcel King. Marcel, are you there?
Good morning, Jeff, or rather good evening where you are.
Indeed. 8 o'clock here. It's, 5 a.m. there? 4?
It's just gone 4.
4. Well, I'm sorry, but you both sound alive and at it, so that's good. Now, John Walson, tell us a little bit about Marcel King, if you would.
He's a very amazing astronomer, engineer, inventor, entrepreneur. He's been a lot of help dealing with all sorts of technical issues. He's also a very good friend.
Good. All right. How long have you been working with him?
Oh, approximately, must be 3 or 4 years now.
Now, the last time, and I'll never forget this, that we were working on your project, and they're just stunning. You had a video, and I mentioned this to you in an email today, I think it was today, of a second camera. Well, maybe it was a primary camera, but it was behind you and your telescope at night, in the dark of night, and you had your video view screen was there, it was operable, and we could watch through the second camera the actual video cam view screen as John would maneuver the telescope and then enlarge objects in space. Little white dots. You could actually see them on the screen as a little white dot and watch as he zoomed in and how they became bigger and bigger, and then they became something shocking. That was a great video. Have you ever tried to duplicate that video?
All the time, yeah. I could do it, anytime anybody wants. The actual video you're talking about was with another very nice friend of mine called Duncan Davis. He has been also very kind over a number of years. That was the video you were talking about. It was really good.
See, that to me showed any doubter that there was no possible hijinks going on here. What we were seeing in the videos you were releasing was there on the view screen in real life, real time video recorded for everyone to see, and it was really an amazing thing, and it's good that you've kept that up. This whole field of finding things in orbit. Marcel King, what are your thoughts about what John Lenard Walson has found up there? What do you make of all this, and how many amateur astronomers are there on the planet? Hundreds of thousands. Why John, and what is it about John that makes him so special?
Well, for me, I've got a personal interest because I'm an amateur astronomer myself.
Yeah.
And because I had a very close-up sighting of an object when I was younger, that led me into the field of unexplained things in the sky. Obviously, I've looked at planets being an amateur astronomer, and obviously when I bumped into John and I saw what John was getting,
yeah, and
I've actually seen them myself. It's amazing, and I just want to get this out to people that these things are there, these things are real, and John can find them.
You know, okay, you just put your finger on something that's crucial to understanding this whole program that we're going to present to you in the next couple of hours. John is able to find them. Now, these are space is a big area up there, and these are not the easiest things to find. But you, Marcel, have found them on your own, correct? Not maybe a whole lot, but you found some of them.
I've certainly seen things that I can't explain, and I've certainly found things on the moon that I can't explain. And I'm quite a level-headed person. I've been in the field of communications and computer science. So I'm quite a level-headed person, and I can't explain these things at all.
Well, I can't either, and I've been watching them through the kind efforts of John for a long time, and I'm elated to be able to present this to all of you tonight who don't know about what's up there, floating and stationary. I'm not always stationary, but these things are up there, and they're moving around the planet, or the planet is turning under them, or, John Walson, are they staying stationary with the rotation of the planet? Are these stationary, synchronous, geosynchronous orbits? What are they? What are these things hanging out in terms of the geometry of space?
Yeah, I mean, I was told they're the secret Star Wars project by a very important person called Jerry Gilmore, a professor of experimental astronomy.
I know that. I know who it is. Yeah, I know. That's a very, very highly regarded source. So he said these were the Star Wars relics or active configuration of the whole program up there.
Well, he said without doubt they are the Star Wars project. I'm just quoting what he's always said to me, and no one's ever picked that up. It's always been shunned. I mean, the only person that really has ever picked it up was you way back in 2007. As I said, you know, I've gone out live with these objects in space. You know, literally live broadcast them on YouTube. You know, you can't get any better than that for proof.
I've seen the recording of that. John has live streamed the imaging of these objects with his telescope online. And as he just said, you can't get any more real than that. So we're going to go and look at a lot of pictures in the next couple of hours and talk about this. What has changed about these objects, John, in the 10 years since you got into this in earnest? Is there any kind of a shift in the entire paradigm of these objects in orbit?
Cool. Wow. Yeah. There's been since 2007. Getting back to the atmosphere and the conditions. Even looking at the moon as well, there's been such a difference in the quality of and the times you can see these things with bad weather, spraying of the sky, It was so funny once. I was getting ready, preparing to look at the moon and space objects, and I just noticed these crosshairs in the sky, like literally someone had sprayed a cross with an airplane.
Big X.
I thought, yeah, I thought it's a bit odd, X marks the spot, and I thought, let's film it, for records. So I start filming it, and out of the corner of one of these trails that had been left by an aircraft, this big bright object starts to appear, and literally I film it. I zoom right in. I've sent you one of the pictures, which we'll probably talk about. It literally looked like a disc, a UFO disc. And it starts coming down, and it starts spinning and rotating. And I'm thinking, is this a drone? It really looks like an intelligently controlled object. And I'm thinking, wow, this is not a plane. It's not a helicopter. It's not Superman. And literally it's coming down. And, it's an incredible video, which, we can talk about if you want to. And yeah, conditions, it's got worse. It's the sky's changed. And
it's gotten dirtier and muggier, and it's just Now, let me ask another question.
Yeah.
What would you describe as the general height of these orbits? Deep orbits, shallow orbits, or do they range the gamut?
Well, to be geostationary, I would imagine they're much closer than anyone would think. I mean, to be quoted as the Star Wars project, it's got to be around just a bit further than, sort of like the space station, I would presume. It's very hard to judge, the distance, really.
Yes, of course.
So there is another person that's actually been actually seeing these, which I was explained by Jerry Gilmore, and also NASA's quoted to me. I mean, they've emailed me as well. I think you've seen those emails, haven't you?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Where they quote Johnson Space Center build things to get them where they need to go. So that very important sentence by NASA to say to get them where they need to go. Number one, to get who? To get where? And, it's not the space station. They're actually quoting that Johnson Space Center build things to get them where they need to go. So who's been building things that have not been announced to the public to get, astronauts going somewhere,
You've Marcel, you know about the discussion about the secret deep space fleet that we supposedly have, and some people say, well, where would they get the money to do that? Well, they have as much money as they need. They want $1 trillion, they get $1 trillion. They've been doing this for a long time. In your field of amateur astronomy, do many other people buy into the idea that there are spacecraft up there and that they are traveling around potentially our solar system? Or is that something that's still considered to be, you don't want to talk about it unless you're among friends?
I think from years ago, I think there's a lot more people think that that's possible now, for lots of reasons. I mean, you've got younger people now are not as gullible as they used to be and sort of believe everything they're told by the press or the government. You've got the technology now going actually back a bit on getting these objects from 10 years ago to now. Remember now the technology in the optics and the cameras are far better than they were 10 years ago, which of course allows us to get more things because the cameras are much better quality. But I think people generally now are starting to ask more questions, and I think certainly more people believe in other civilizations. You've got scientists now every week saying they're finding new planets. It's all starting to, I think people are starting to turn and ask questions about this now, whereas maybe years ago they never used to, because of course if anyone mentioned it, they'd be laughed at.
Right. There used to be total denial. Now they're asking specific questions of inquiry about the subject rather than just denying it.
Exactly right.
All right, very good. Now, John, when we used to have our marathon conversations and things, I'd ask you, I'd say, how in the heck do you know where to look for these things? And you had a wonderful response, and I'll never forget it. So I don't know if you remember it, but maybe millions of people have asked you since, but you have a special ability in this field. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, it's very simple. All you do, I don't know if you know what soldiers wear on the side of their Gen night vision, which when it goes green. You know the equipment.
Vaguely, not a lot, but I've heard of it.
Well, it's very sensitive equipment that lets you see in the dark, and if you point it up to the sky, it literally, makes it like daylight. All the stars light up, so everything that moves, you will see. So it's very easy. And what you do, you get one of these Gen night vision tubes, and you can put them onto the back of a finder scope, which is literally like when you're holding a gun, you've got a rifle, which is the finder scope.
Uh-huh.
So literally that is the Gen night vision tube. You put that on the side of your big telescope, so you put that on the side, and whatever you're seeing through that finder scope literally will transfer to your main telescope.
Oh, I
then
see.
What you do,
mm-hmm.
It's very simple. You can get a webcam that goes on the back of the Gen night vision tube finder scope, which will become your eye. So you imagine you're lining up with your rifle, you're looking through your finder scope, which is the Gen tube, and you literally can hold and move your telescope until you see, like when you're outside and you're looking at, you see a bright object move across the sky. Have you ever done that?
Yes.
Yeah. So all you do, literally, you move your finder scope, you pan it around the sky, and you can see one of these bright objects starting to move, which is, number one, it's either going to be a satellite or one of these Star Wars projects or something.
Satellites shouldn't be still and then start to move. That's the big difference.
Well, some things do, and I've filmed it doing it, which is incredible. Yes. So literally, you just hold it, and you can move your telescope, which you can do manually and freely. But these telescopes are very, very good because there's a piece of software that can control this Gen night vision that you're looking at with attached to your actual finder scope, which is attached to a webcam, which can be attached to your computer. And that software, once it's locked onto a bright moving object, can control your telescope to track it. So it's very simple.
Wow.
And then obviously, while it's tracking it, you can actually see it in the main finder of the actual.
Yeah, you've got a video view screen.
That's it. Yeah.
Watch it right there.
There you go. Yeah, you're right there.
Now this is Gen 2 night vision stuff. And yet it has the ability to look into deepest space, well, as deep as we want, and somehow make that more available to you. That's really interesting. I thought the Gen 2 stuff was much more earthbound than that.
No, it depends what you put it on. If you put it on the back of a normal telescope, right on the back, like an F10, it's useless. It doesn't see much. It's very dark. But if you put a Gen night vision tube, if you used to buy one, you take the lens off it and put that Gen night vision tube on the back of, say, for instance, sort of F3 or up to the most something like that. You'd be seeing a wider field of view. So it's like looking through a pair of binoculars. But if you, as I said, put it on the back of the telescope, it's just too much for the actual Gen tube to handle. It's all dull. So it's best to put it on the finder scope. And I'm not the only person to do this. Way back, in 2007, Jerry Gilmore was telling me there's actual other people that have done it before me, and his colleagues as well. If you go to Jerry Gilmore, or Google Jerry Gilmore and his actual web page that he's got at the university in Cambridge, he actually explained to me, it's quite funny how this works, and I've explained it to you in a way you understand. But he said his colleagues have been doing it as well, exactly like what I'm doing. And his colleagues at the university called it lucky imaging.
I remember that.
Quite funny for a university or the Institute of Astronomy in Cambridge call something lucky imaging. I mean, I suppose it is luck, really, because you're using, it's like fishing. You're just like moving it around the sky, and I suppose it's pure luck if you manage to, lock onto one of these things, because they're quite hard to look at, even through binoculars when you're looking at them. I don't know if
they're
you've tried.
Just teeny tiny little dots of light. And now you told me once, long ago, 10 years ago, that you had a sense, and that you felt that you kind of knew where to look.
Well,
an instinct.
Well, literally years of doing this, Jeff. You do get to sort of like, get to know where to look in the sky. That's what I mean. It's not some, spooky sense. It's not that. It's just literally years.
I didn't mean paranormal. I got it. It's just, it's repetitive, searching and imaging over and over and over again. Finish up. Go ahead. I'm sorry. We got a little bit of a delay here. Go ahead.
Sorry, it's been years, so you get to know.
Yeah. What is the size of your telescope now? I think you used to have an 8-inch diameter scope. Is that right? Do you have a bigger one now?
That's right, 8-inch. And this is another amazing thing that the professor actually commented on. You don't need a big scope to actually, like a 24-inch or a meter-sized telescope to see these things, because big doesn't always mean better. Basically, the actual conditions that a telescope would work in perfectly. So for instance, you've got a smaller telescope, you can take that about all over the place, and you can look up in the sky, and with conditions that you meet up in the sky, a smaller telescope sometimes is better, because if you've got a bigger one, it just makes what you're seeing a lot more worse, unfortunately. So I started off with a little telescope, and I thought, let's get a bigger one, because I thought it would be better. And to my shock, sometimes it's not. And when you're out, when it's freezing cold, doing this hobby, you get dew, and dew turns to ice on your lens. And with a bigger telescope, you're at the mercy of the dew turning to ice much more with a bigger telescope. I found even if you use a dew shield, which is something that you can put on the end of the telescope to protect you from dew, smog, and all the rubbish that's coming down from the sky laying on the front of your lens, and the actual method is good, but with a bigger telescope, it's much more harder to control. So I thought, how can I back engineer the size of the big telescope to work on the little telescope? And I did it. I did it way back in 2003. Was the first time I got hold of a normal Sony camcorder, because you can ask me, how do I zoom in? Which is your next question, is it, Jeff? I don't know.
Just might be, yes.
Yeah. So basically, to zoom in, I got hold of this simple Sony camcorder. You can do it with really any camcorder, but these old Sony ones had, if you flicked a switch, it sort of did, a Gen tube sort of like imitation. It went green. It intensified what you were looking at.
Infrared.
So I got one of the
infrared, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I poked off the lens, which you shouldn't do if you've got one of these, because way back in 2003 and 4, they were quite expensive, like £300 or £400, and so you'd pick your lens and poke your lens off with a screwdriver. That's your main lens on the camcorder. Until you exposed, you could see the CCD chip that was inside.
Mm-hmm. And
what I'd do, I'd leave the barrel in. So when you use the zoom function, you would get a slight zoom. So basically, I'd put that on the back of the telescope instead of your eyepiece. So I'd be exposing the light that came through the actual telescope to the CCD chip, which was on the back of the Handycam. And this would give you a high readout, which was a fast readout.
High resolution, quick readout. This was the discovery you made, and we didn't used to talk about this on air. So it's nice that you're sharing that. But this was John's own discovery about how to make this work, and it plays a huge role in his ability to find and discern and to record these images. Let me ask Marcel another question. Marcel, since John uses about an 8-inch scope, I'm a little bit familiar with an 8-inch Meade telescope. Have scopes in the last 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years changed a lot, or are they pretty much the same? Did they get optically where they needed to get to be really competent?
If you want the truth, telescopes haven't really changed in 20 years. They're still basically the same. They just use a tube and a mirror. But obviously what has changed is the cameras you can put on the back end now. Which of course you've got HD, you've got 4K video now. So obviously the resolution of the image you can capture on the camera now is far better than it ever used to be. But
that's amazing.
The telescopes are still exactly the same.
So go ahead, John. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's right, Marcel. I mean, way back in 2003, 4, when I started doing this, the resolution you were stuck with was PAL. And zooming in, as you can see, some of the old footage was when it was raw, which people don't seem to understand. When you film something in space, you get this raw image and you have to process it to look sharp. And I was always giving out raw footage. And when you're zooming in slightly, you just zoom in a little bit with your camcorder using the barrel that's still in there to get closer to these objects. Professor Jerry Gilmore was saying that his colleagues are doing the same sort of thing, but they had the privilege to use BBC cameras, which is much more, sort of that resolution, not actual real BBC cameras, but he was explaining to me that sort of quality they got hold of. And we're doing, at the similar sort of time as me, the same thing, using high readout cameras. What they would then do after capturing an image of something, they would actually process it in something similar to Registat. And that would, like Marcel does very well, and lots of astronomers around the world doing this hobby, they will actually capture a short section of footage. Then they would put it in a computer, and then they would literally get the computer would pick all the good frames out of the, say, little section of video.
Oh, the software is that good. It can just go through and grab, you got 30 frames a second, thereabout, and you can go and pull all the good ones. Wow.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, and then stack it all into a really nice picture. But I haven't been doing that. Specifically when I've sent pictures to you in the old days, I would always send you the raw, still frame grab. But it's much better. You get much more better results, like Jerry Gilmore and his colleagues at the actual, it's called Lucky Imaging, the actual website, which he explains. And they actually do this in their procedure that they do. So yeah, I mean, getting back to actually who else has done it as well, which is a miracle that's never been mentioned, is a chap called Ron Downswish or something. He's now the head of is it actual Clay Center Observatory, and he was doing it before me on a small 8-inch Meade telescope, and the same sort of way, tracking it the same sort of way. It's incredible that I've sort of only been sort of all over the internet saying it's only me doing this, but every time I have tried to share these emails with Jerry Gilmore that has sent me explaining other people have been doing it, including him.
Well, you used to send those emails to me. We used to talk about this, and you had nothing but kind words to say. I will say, though, from my perspective as a reporter, a journalist, at some point you deserve, and there are others, you deserve the highest recognition for pioneering this and taking it to the level you have, and it cost you dearly. We're going to talk about that. We're going to look at some freeze frames and some video. Now, we've talked about objects in Earth orbit that are going to just knock your socks off, but there are also images and video of the moon's surface which are going to do the exact same thing. When I used to watch the raw video that John would send me, I felt like I was just above the moon's surface and floating right along with his imagery. It was stunning. And this live feed that he did, this live net feed of the moon's surface, well, stay tuned. What I'd like you to do is go ahead and load up, don't cheat now, the first video photo link under John Walson and Marcel King's name at Rense. You'll see there's 3 photo links there. And I want you to please load up number 1. Try not to go ahead. Just let us walk you through this. It's more fun that way. It's called page 1. All right? Page 1 of photos in guests. You'll find it. This is it's truly a world exclusive. And even though we started doing this over 10 years ago, it's great to have John back. We have so much to cover. So load up that first page of images. Marcel, are you on a computer now? Are you able to look at the images as we go through these?
Whereabouts are the images?
If you look on the left-hand side of Rense.com, and you'll find guests. It says the word Monday in green, then it says Tex Mars, and under that it's got John and your name. It's about just maybe 10% down the page. You'll find it. There's there's a picture of Kim Jong-un, and then there's a picture under that of some Muslims. And if you look right to the left of the picture of Muslims, one of them says, "I will kill you." Just a coincidence that you're to the left of that. So look to the left of that. There's 3 columns. Look over to your left. See if you find your name there. Look for John's name and your name.
You'll see a picture of Jeff with his white hair, and then you'll come down and you'll see a planet, and then you come down a bit further.
That's it.
And you'll see, you keep on
Monday.
coming. And past the adverts, you keep on going, and it's just there. Can you see that?
Yeah, just go to where it says right below the planet with the comet going around it.
That's it.
And then you'll see the green Monday, then you'll see the guests, and then under John and Marcel, you'll see page 1, page 2, page 3.
I've got it. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm there.
You got it?
You said
you got it, John?
Okay. Yeah, I've got it. You said a very important thing just now, which I'd like to pick up on. When did I first start showing you these very zoomed sections of the moon and these objects? Can you remember when that was, when I was doing this live to you?
Oh, it's got to be 10, 12 years. I don't know, a long time ago.
That's it. Exactly. So this is the most incredible thing that way back 10, 12 years ago, it was just, such an incredible privilege to be able to zoom into the moon and these objects like this. And
it was staggering to me, shocking. And then when the India put up a satellite, if I remember right, that went around the moon and got some images that weren't nearly as good as yours.
That's I was shocked about, yeah. So it's incredible. It's also such a privilege to do this hobby, it really is.
Yeah. Well, you're very kind, and I really appreciate that about you. You're not in this for any other reason than it is science, and we're trying to figure out what's going on. So let's look at page 1, everyone, yep. And you'll have the first image up there is a blue image. It's kind of a blue image, and you'll see below that is a bigger image of the same thing. What number 1 is an enlargement of the lower portion of the second image. Now, what that image is, I want you to look at the second image first. That is an object. That is an object. It is a machine of some kind in orbit. Okay? It's lit up on each end. It appears to be fully functional. Now ask yourself, is that a satellite that's been enclosed in a nose cone of a rocket and sent up there? No. That is a big object. We don't know how big, but it is real, and it is large. Tell us more just about this first one.
Yeah, as you can see, it's a still frame. It's not a processed still frame from stacking lots of images, because I've got that actual object. I've got that on film, which I'm not sure if you've seen the actual footage of that. It's incredible. And I managed to, because what I've been doing since 2003 and 4, I've been getting to the point where it's around, shall we say, 4 a.m, where it's just still dark, where you can lock onto these objects and see them in the finder scope. And I've managed to keep them, in my actual finder scope and main telescope, and, film them sometimes in the day, which is quite an incredible thing to do. So what that is I've been told the secret Star Wars project after a professor looking at these, and I've continued to film the same ones over all these years. So I would presume that it's what he told me it was, the secret Star Wars project. That's what I think it is. I'm not sure what you think it is, Jeff. Have you any ideas at all?
Well, it's not a McDonald's. No. It's it's a machine. What else can I say? It's some kind of a space machine. Does it travel from here to Mars? Does it have a travel distance from here to the moon? I don't know. Look at the length. Look at picture number 2. Look at the length of the actual body. You'll see clearly geometry in there. These are not random images. They're long tubes or long bars or something that are holding one end apart from the other end. Maybe one end is a propulsion system. I don't know. But it's clearly a ship of some kind.
Yeah.
To me.
So getting back to what it could be, I mean, NASA, a chap called Henry Klein, he was a very, good person to look at these. He was the sort of head person at the graphical, sort of like department, editing department. He would be someone that would get images from the real NASA footage tapes to prepare them for the public to see. He was chatting like you were to me for a long time about these, and he explained, I'll quote his email. He explained that some of these could be military classified, but also, very importantly, Johnson Space Center make things that are actually to deal with human space flight. And he actually said that NASA only build things like robots, and they don't build large, elaborate spacecraft to get them where they need to go. And I'm actually quoting one of his emails. So he's actually sort of like saying that these are actually large, elaborate spacecraft to get sort of, astronauts, where they need to go. So we've got to take that into account as well. What is the secret Star Wars project? What's the secret space program? Is it actual just satellites to watch us in space, or is the secret space program a whole fleet of elaborate spacecraft, which, quote, NASA emails to me, build elaborate spacecraft to get them where they need to go? We've got to ask, what is this? Is it one of those, or is it just orbiting, our planet watching us? That's the big question.
Very good. Very good. Okay, anything you want to add to this first two pictures? And remember, the second image is the wide shot of the object. The first image is the close-up of the bottom of it, as we look at the picture of the bottom of it. Marcel?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things to add to what John's just said. Actual fact, first of all, do you know what NASA stands for, Jeff?
National Aeronautics and Space Administration.
No, NASA stands for Never a Straight Answer.
That too. I didn't know you want me to tell the truth, but you got it. Never a straight answer. Oh yeah.
Just quickly going back on that. Last year there was an elderly gentleman who was the director of the Skunk Works for, it was either Boeing or McDonnell Douglas, and the gentleman didn't have long to live, and he wrote a affidavit out stating that we currently have craft up in space, and we have the technology now to zip to Mars and back, and we have had that technology for many years. So that's very interesting to note as well.
Does that work for you?
I personally believe that, yes. I personally believe that the governments have retrieved objects from space. I believe they've back-engineered some of these objects, and I believe they have a fleet up there. And again, to back that up, you've got people like Gary McQuinnan. Do you remember Gary from
of course, UK? Yeah.
That just backs it up even more, doesn't it, really?
I agree with you. Now, the other thing that is important to mention here is that this is going on right now. This doesn't just come and go. It's essentially up there all the time. We're going to get to the moon images, too, a little later, so sit tight for that. Let's move on down to image number 3 and 4, and the same thing. Go to number 4 first. That's the wide angle. Then back up and look at the enhancement, the enlargement of the bottom one half of it. This is a long. Look at the long version, the unenlarged version. It's a long object. This is a machine of some kind. It's structural. It's clearly geometric. It's not random. It's not a lens smudge. And you have two portions that are apparently lit up, unless you want to say, well, these are solar glaring portions, which I don't think. But this is a long object. And the more you look at it, the more detail. If you have a magnifying glass, for example, you can look at it up closer and you'll see little detail that at a glance your eye will not give you. This is an extraordinary object, and it's up there. It looks like it could be as big as a submarine. We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. I mean, the most amazing thing that's just come out is I think you've had on your show, and you have him back regularly.
Bill Tompkins.
Isn't it amazing for him to come forward? And he's actually, it's like a miracle. He's got drawings of all these that look identical to these. It's just incredible. I don't know if you want to say a bit more about that, Jeff.
Well, I think that most people listening are well familiar with Mr. Bill Tompkins, and his story is extraordinary. And I want to move through these pictures, so we'll just leave that to Bill. He'll be able to see these pictures before he's on the program next, so it'll be fascinating to get his take on this. He's the man who really began talking about the deep space fleet that we have up there. Yep. And he has just contributed mightily to our understanding of what is potentially going on up there. I'll leave it all to you to make your own decisions. That's the best we can do. Let's look at the next image, number 4. There are 2 of them, and they're very similar, but they're flipped. You can see one end is on one end the first time, and then the images are flipped so you can get a different perspective of it. That's again, and I hope all of you listening, or most all of you, are able to see these. You can see on the top image what appears to be solar reflection off of some kind of metal at the bottom end of it. If you look very carefully at it, then the center appears to be illuminated somehow, and then behind the center, moving up toward the top, if that's the top, are looks like segmented portions of the top part of the structure of this craft. Let's think of these as submarines just for fun, because that's kind of what they look like. Spaceship submarines. But this is the same object flipped. And please don't steal these images, ladies and gentlemen. They're all copyrighted, and we're presenting them to you for the courtesy of John, and certainly Marcel is here as well. We want to share. These are the property of John Lenard Walson, and they should be honored as such. So you're welcome to link to them here as much as you want. They'll be up there for you, but please don't take them. All right. Now, I think of all the nights that John used to tell me he'd be up on some hilltop, literally freezing, cold, and still at it. So that's a spectacular view of that entire craft, whatever that object is. And again, I defy anyone to try to tell me that came out of a nose cone on a rocket. That is not a satellite deployed. It is something entirely different. And those are not solar panels off a center section. Look at it. You can see the glare, especially on the top picture, which says, please do not copy. Look at the bottom of it. That's metal, and it's glaring from the sun. Reflecting. Fascinating. All right, let's go down and look at the next one now. This one's a little more raggedy, but it's a different craft, a different object, captured by John. It's in color. John, tell us about this one. What do you think?
Yeah, again, you've got the sort of like distortion of the atmosphere, which is, again, coming up when it's that was recorded in the daytime. So you've got not only the heat, etc., all adds to the distortion of the picture, but I've still managed to capture this object. And it's incredible that you've got at one end it appears to be some sort of structural part where you might have the power source, I'm not sure, and at the other end you've got another sort of section, maybe, I don't know, where like NASA said, quoting their words, where the humans are, where they sort of build elaborate spacecraft. I'm not sure, but I've got all these emails and all these references from NASA and from Professor Jerry Gilmore, and it's those actual sort of explanations from NASA and top quality people in sort of universities have actually said what these are. These actual quotes have never been really pushed forward, sort of to show the public. I mean, you're the only one who's actually, really had the sort of like courage to put these emails out. And I think one of them contacted you and said, look, you're not allowed to show them. But he actually said it. Why would he say to me that they're the space secret Star Wars project? If they weren't, he must know what the secret Star Wars project looks like.
Yes.
He must have seen it to compare it to mine, to say mine are it. He shouldn't have said they are the secret Star Wars project if they're not. I mean, that's like, I'm an amateur, astronomer. It's my hobby. I just contacted him, and asked him, look, what are these? He gave his professional opinion. He shouldn't have said it if it wasn't true,
Correct.
I mean, so, and no one ever pushes these emails to the public, except you. I mean, if you Google my name, you'll get, first of all, above top secret or some other chat room trying to spread muck about me, saying that these are tinfoil little models hanging from a tree, which are video.
Please. Yeah.
So they're not, and no one ever. When I try and confront people, they never will talk about Jerry Gilmore or NASA saying that they're the secret Star Wars project. You'll never get any skeptic admitting that those emails are real. Or if you talk to a skeptic, you will never get them to even look at these emails. They won't even mention them because they're so scared to admit that their colleagues are actually telling amateurs that this is the secret Star Wars project. And I'm not the only person to film it. As I said, you've got other people that are now been given these amazing jobs, like Clay, sort of observatory. He wasn't the actual manager or the head of it, but way back in 2003 and up to 2007, this chap called Don Switch, I did send you his name. Way back then, he was just filming these objects up in space, which I was told by Jerry Gilmore, a professor at Cambridge University. And now he's the head of Clay Center Observatory.
Wow, fascinating. Hold on a minute, John. We have to pause here on that note. And the next picture up is darker. And wow, the more you look at it, the more detail you see. It's just stunning. We'll be right back and begin looking at more pictures. And then we're going to go to the moon. And then we're going to show you what happened to John at home when he began doing this 10, 11 years ago on this program. Boy, did they come after him. Stand by. We'll be right back. Okay, let's get right back to it. We have a lot to get through this hour. We're going to see what we can do about doing just that. We're looking at picture number 10 on page 1 of the photos. It's kind of a dark background, but I want you to look at that object and look at the so-called bottom of it, which is white. Look at what appear to be round openings. Then there are rectangular shapes. This is I don't know. John, what do your instincts tell you about the potential size of this? Several hundred meters long, that kind of thing?
Well, it's amazing, isn't it? It's just literally like Jerry Gilmore said, it's like Star Wars. It's like the real Star Wars movie, isn't it? It's just like, he said it's the Star Wars project in an email to me. So, I mean, that's what it just portrays. Just massive Star Wars, objects in space.
It's a spaceship. It's a big damn spaceship is what it looks like. And, Marcel, your thoughts on possible size?
To be frank, I mean, it looks huge. It's very, very difficult to tell without anything to scale.
Right.
But
of course,
just looking at that, it's certainly not a small satellite that's gone up in the nose cone of a rocket.
No chance.
You can guarantee that.
Yeah. Okay, let's go on down to the next one. It's again a long one. I think we may have seen it before. It's lit. Let's just call it the stern at the bottom, the center, and then at the top right, just for the heck of it. It's lit up. Isn't that illumination, John?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you get glares from the sun, but that is if you look at the video of it, which I've got on my YouTube page, it's John Lenard Walson. It's very easy to find. Just Google John Lenard Walson. You will see this YouTube videos. There's lots there, and literally, it's got light to it. It has sections of it are lit up. So
look at the bottom of it, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. Look at the bottom of it. Look at there's a single big light. It's kind of roundish. Now look at to the right of that, and you'll see that lighted object is reflecting off the craft itself. It's lit up. It's a reflection.
Yeah.
There's no other way to look at that. None.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go on to the next picture. Now, this one is really wild. Wow.
It is.
I mean, look at that. Does that... I ask you, in all honesty, how can you dismiss this as anything but something intelligently constructed and clearly of large size? Your all instincts, all your senses tell you that.
Yeah. I showed that one to Robert Watts, who's the Hollywood producer that helped produce Space Odyssey 2001. And we sat down. I think you might have the video of me sitting with him. I'm not sure. I did send it in, but I can send it again. But we were sat down and we were looking at that, and he said to me, "That's just like," because he helped produce the Star Wars movies as well. And he said, "That's just like the movies. It's just incredible." And to see his shocked face, as a Hollywood producer that produced Space Odyssey 2001 and Star Wars, he knew about, sort of like, actual, photography, filming, and that, and he was just amazed that this is in space. I've shown him it live in space as well, and he's just been, knocked over by it. He just thinks it's incredible.
Well, this, again, is captured through the haze of the atmosphere and all the soot and smoke and chemtrails and garbage that's up there. And to get this fine of a resolution is just a real tribute to John's patience and his dedication to this. That's a spaceship, folks. Not a 1950s science fiction type, but it's a contemporary spaceship. It doesn't need to be built for any wind drag or aerodynamic problems. It's in space.
And mentioning this actual photograph, moving on in years of doing this with CCD chips, which is quite important to mention for the viewers that maybe want to try this. In the last year or so, there's been people sort of copying my actual getting a camera and using the zoom function on the back.
On the back, I think we may have lost John. Marcel, are you there? All right, well, maybe we've lost both of them. That would be an interesting interruption, shall we say. I think there are people out there who don't want this talked about or shown. But I will continue. The next picture shows that same object, a little bit smaller and it looks like a different filter perhaps on it to bring out different highlights. Look at what, we'll call this the crew compartment. The white dome with the top flat on it in the center. Remember, we're only seeing half of it. We don't know what's in the dark on the backside. This is the illuminated portion. So that, and then some of you will say, well, that's crazy, because why would NASA put up the International Space Station and spend all this money and all this time? Well, let me just explain it simply. It's a misdirection. It's a necessary parallel misdirection to keep people not knowing about the advanced state of spaceflight and technology that apparently exists. It's all about information and control. Okay? All right, hopefully Todd is trying to get our guests back on. We'll go down to the next one. I don't have these numbered. I wish they did have numbers, but just keep looking at them. Look at the detail. Look at the amazing detail of whatever these are. And I think it's the same, I'm going to call it a ship. I think it's the same ship, just flipped over, so that we'll call it a crew compartment. Yeah, we're back, John. Okay, good. What we're seeing is the same object. It looks like you put a blue filter on it or some kind. And then the next two images appear to show it, or three images, appear to show it upside down from our original perspective. And it shows what appears to be the bottom. And there are several long, tubular-looking items on the bottom of it, if that is the bottom. We don't know. It's the same. It's the same craft with different exposures. And tell us how you got it to look different.
That's what I was just explaining. Did you get me explaining about the
No, I did not. We lost that. So go ahead. You just started to talk chips and we lost you.
Oh, right. Okay. So way back in 2003 and 5 and 6 and 7, when I was talking to you, I was using like a Philips Pro 2 cam and the Sony camcorder where I poked the lens out, which exposed the inner CCD chip, which is the sensor that lets light produce it into a visual spectrum for you to see. I was using them, and they were like PAL versions, so it was 720 size. Then I progressed over the years up to about 3-4 years ago. I brought a Sony A7S and started using that. Are you still with me?
Yeah.
Yep. And with that, it's a full frame chip. And way back 3 years ago, when I had this Sony A7S, I started being able to zoom in at a flick of a switch straight in to much further than I've ever done before. And I started outputting it live, so you could zoom into the moon much closer and zoom into these objects much closer. It's an incredible camera, Sony A7S. It's got a full frame sensor. It also is a very sensitive sensor. It's up to 450 ISO, where normal cameras are around 6,000, 7,000 ISO in video mode. So when you put one of those on the back of a telescope, you can't see much. It's not very good. But you put one of these Sony A7s on the back, and you whack it up to 450,000 ISO. It's a little bit grainy, that's why you see the graininess, but you can see further out into space and more's visible. Does that make sense? Because you've got more capability of the sensor. It's much more sensitive to see further. So I was doing this 3 or 4 years ago with this Sony A7S and starting to collect data and footage, and then I started outputting it live on live streams. So it's also a function on there, it's a zoom function. So what it lets you do is basically live, lets you zoom into the sensor live. So you've got a full frame, and you can zoom right in with no loss of quality, and produce astonishing results. It's incredible. And that's what the professor, Jerry Gilmore, was explaining, what lucky imaging is. He had the amazing capability to have CCD chips that the BBC crews use in their massive, great big cameras. And he was explaining he was doing the similar sort of thing with his colleagues at Cambridge. And they were putting one of these massive light chips that you'd get in a professional, sort of camera from the BBC that broadcast on the back of a massive telescope, producing amazing results as well. So it's incredible, what you can do with new technology now. It really is.
It's staggering. Now, let me just back up a tiny bit. Number 11, which shows the entire length of this craft. And then there's a text line on the right side. It's vertical. Please do not copy or reproduce without permission. Yeah. This looks, for all the world, like one of the enormous spacecraft that Bill Tompkins described.
It does. You're right.
Absolutely looks like an enormously long. Look at the straightness of that. Look at it.
It's amazing.
It's huge. These are big things. Okay. Now we're going to head down to the next image, which is below number 11, with that little piece of text on the right-hand side. Please do not copy. We'll go back to this one. This is. How can you look at this and not say that's a spaceship or a spacecraft of some kind? I just don't see it as being a possible, logical, rational, fair estimate of what the eye is seeing there. It is what it is. That's number 12. And then 13, it's got a little bit of some kind of a colored filter on it to bring it into even more sharpness. 14, 15, it's the same thing, but flipped over. Now, was that craft rotating in orbit at the time? Is that how you were able to get this other image of it?
No, it wasn't rotating at all. That's the interesting thing. Over a period of a couple of days, you'd see it as a different actual sort of.
So you come back a couple of days later, you had the location recorded, you go back there, and it's changed its attitude toward the Earth.
Well, this is the interesting thing. Live, over a period of 3 days, if you ask, there's a few colleagues that are listening who are actually witnessing this live with me. I recorded it one day, Pacific time, recently, not this specific one, but a different one. And then the second day and the third day, and over 3 days, you can see that it's slightly turned. And I didn't notice that. It was actually one of your colleagues that are listening noticed it. I was watching it live with the rest of the world. And if you've got a clear week, it's amazing because you can actually look at these and they're in certain places. And it's incredible. You know, it really is. Right. You know, they are there. You know? Yeah. And I've been zooming in and out, if you watch the videos, right out. So, and to whack up the ISO so you can see it's in space and then zoom back in, you know, like I do on the moon. And as I said, I've been doing this for over 10, 12
years now. At least. Yeah.
And it's just incredible to see that they're still there, you know, watching us.
So, yeah, well, now let's pick that up and run with it just for a little bit. We've been suggesting that these may be our deep space fleet ships. They might be somebody else's deep space fleet ships parked out there, sending reconnaissance craft down here and bringing them back. We've talked about this in years ago. We don't know who's up there. These could be ours, they could be theirs, could be both. We don't know. But somebody's up there, and that's for damn sure.
It brings back sort of memories of War of the Worlds original radio broadcast. Like, we're on the radio, so you could give it a mention. The Orson Welles wonderful broadcast from
1939. Yeah, 38, whatever it was.
Back, memories of that, doesn't it?
It does.
As they draw their plans.
Who's up there? Are they plotting? Are they Are they listening to this program? This is very interesting. Now we have a freeze frame from a YouTube video. It's got a time bar at the bottom of it. It shows this particular freeze is at 21:55. Now that, I defy anyone to look at that and tell me it's lens flare or a smudge or a satellite or an old rocket booster. No chance. That is a purposefully designed object, a machine that somebody has built, and it's parked up there.
Yeah, that was actually broadcast live. That actual, if you go to John Lenard Walson YouTube, you can actually see the live broadcast of it. It's there. You can Google it.
So you can go to John's YouTube channel and look at that live and see it. Look at that. Yeah. You could put a ruler on that, and obviously, you just. Yeah, and the hardest thing for people, John, as we've talked about years ago, and Marcel, you know this, is for people to accept the idea that they ran the whole Apollo program and the ISS as a diversion. And unfortunately, if these craft that we're looking at are our craft, that's the only conclusion you can come up with. It was a diversion. If these craft belong to visitors, which they might, then what do we do about it? And the answer, nothing. Nothing we can do. They're up there. They're obviously extremely advanced technologically. And if they're ours, which I'm sure, in my mind, some of them, after listening to Bill Tompkins, some of them are, we're 20, 40, 50, 60 years ahead minimum of what the government will admit. Okay. Go ahead, Marcel, please.
Yeah, a couple of quick things. Just going back to, you mentioned about John's patients. I'm sure someone has got a picture of John fast asleep with his head on the telescope. That has happened a few times.
Yeah.
Definitely happened a few times. But I think mainly what I'd like to say about these particular shots and this subject is, according to the US government, the Star Wars project does not exist.
That's right.
So I think people have to make their own minds up, and I think it's quite obvious. But
I don't need the U.S. government to tell me anything is real or otherwise. I'm perfectly able to make up my own mind. And you look at this, and knowing John as long as I have, and when you, with his head asleep on the that's John, and he has the patience of a saint. And this is testimonial to that. And I would urge all of you to look at that freeze frame, spacecraft. Can you see the shadow? Look at the detail. I have a 5-inch magnifying glass. Just look at the detail on that, and some of the others, and the shadowing. Absolutely, it's up in the upper right portion of this object, and there is absolutely shadowing in there. Yeah.
I actually sent you a picture taken by Ron and also some other astronomers that are almost as good as that, and they've been recording these space objects too. And quite frankly, it's all on like a Japanese web page. You don't see it on any English or USA.
No, of course not. Which argues for the validity of it all. If we're not being able to see it freely, and calling John Lenard Walson a quack, they're hiding it. They're covering it up. Fine, then let them. I don't care. Doesn't bother me.
I've sent you the picture, and it's from their website. I sent it as an example of my research of other people doing it. I can prove other people have filmed exactly the same thing, but not as close. I think I've got closer.
Got it.
And it's a long structure filmed by somebody. I've sent it to your colleagues, and it's there. You can't deny it.
Okay. All right. Now the last image on page 1.
Well, that's good. Yeah.
Again, is stunning. Look at the detail of it.
Yeah.
Who made that? Is that ours?
Exactly.
Is somebody from another galaxy? Look at that. This is, I can only imagine. I've got to get the video of you and the Hollywood producer up. I don't know if it's up or not, but I will put it up. Let me also do this, John and Marcel. I would like to ask you to come back 1 week from tonight, next Monday night. I don't want to rush through these images, and we're going to do the rest of them next week. We'll do what we can in this next half hour, and then we're going to come back next Monday and spend at least 2 hours and go through this at our leisure, and we'll pull up examples and present concepts and ideas. But that last picture on page 1 of the images, look at the detail. Wow.
Yeah, the time is going too quick, Jeff.
Yeah, we're going to come back if you're both available next Monday. We're not going to rush through this. It's too important. Now, also at the bottom of the page, if I might look at a line of text and ask you to take some time and look at it. Please help discover more spacecraft in orbit and moon structures. And click on that. John is needing a little help. He's run his van into the ground. He needs a new used van. It's a request for support. All right. Now I would ask all of you to, after you've looked at all this, and I think John a little bit better now, as such a dedicated, devoted man, that you might want to send something to help him get a new van to lug his scope around. And when he's there on location, there are other people up on these hills, and he'll show them. He shares everything. It's just an amazing event. So that's the last little line of text at the bottom of page 1. We've got to get this man a new van. He's got several examples of what will work for him, and I think that's more than fair. Look what he's doing. I guarantee you there are a lot of people in the Pentagon right now watching this. Guarantee it.
Oops.
Yeah, oops. And in the military, all around the world are watching this. This is history-making internet broadcast. And these images we're seeing are, again, I'm going to repeat it. We don't know if they're ours or the Greys or the reptilians or whose they are. We don't know what they're doing up there. If they're ours, why aren't they out flying around? Maybe they are. I don't know. All of these questions are on the table, and many more I can't even think of right now. So it's just fascinating. All right, let's go ahead and load page 2 up next. And so a little review on that. Marcel King, what did you think of those pictures?
Personally, I think they are amazing. And to me, it's just proof of there are a lot of things up there that we just do not know about. Simple as that, really.
And that's not space junk. Come on.
No, it's not.
Those are purposefully built spacecraft, spaceships, whatever you'd like to call them. Friends, we are surrounded by them in orbit above us. Whose are they? I don't know. Listen to Bill Tompkins, and he'll tell you whose some of them probably are, and they are ours. And Bill may have had a hand in designing more than a few of them. He's a remarkable man, and he'll be on again fairly soon. I wish I was there when he was able to see these images, perhaps tomorrow. Remember, he doesn't have a computer. They don't want him to have a computer, they being the powers that be. So he has to get these things kind of delivered in a roundabout way. But he'll see them. Okay, page 2. Now, I mentioned earlier that John paid a price when we were working together 10, 12 years ago, however long ago it was. He used to call me, and we'd talk about things that I would not repeat on the air here. They're just private. And one of the things he began to relay to me was the fact, and this is okay to talk about, the British government did not like what he was doing with his telescope and putting up on the air on this program and on his sites. He'd only put up YouTube videos back then, but the government didn't like that, and they harassed the hell out of him. Now, the first picture you'll see is, I don't know the type of helicopter, but it's flying above John's home in broad daylight.
An Apache gunship.
It is an Apache. That's right. Now I can see it. In fact, it looks like it's got its rocket launcher tube ready to fire. And its Gatling gun machine gun under the nose. I can see that.
Yeah.
So okay, they sent a combat Apache helicopter over John's house in broad daylight. Go ahead, John.
And then yeah.
Marcel? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Something I would like to add to the people seeing this, which is really important. This is in a residential street with maybe 50, 60 houses in a residential street that these are going over his house. It's not in a field. It's in a main residential street.
Okay, very good point. This is going to shake up the whole neighborhood.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's no air bases or anything like that. It's just literally straight up coming over the house. Really, really crazy low. The next few stills you're going to see crazy, massive Chinooks shaking the rooftops. One came so low, you'll see, it knocked me over in the garden, and I really hurt my back really badly. My coccyx bone, it shook, and the downdraft of one of these things is like a hurricane. If you do any research, if you stand within 30 feet, 40 feet underneath one of these twin blade Chinooks, it literally will squash you into the ground, and that's what it did to me. And I filmed it. I got it all on footage, and some of them have come so low. I've got CCTV, and they go lower than my CCTV along the back of the garden, clipping the trees, and literally you can see the CCTV's 12 feet off the ground, pointing down to like a 10 feet section of the garden, and you can see it comes in line with it. So it's literally 12 feet off the ground. It's just horrible. You're going to show other things where I've been blinded in a minute, so I'll let you carry on, Jeff.
Yeah. All right. The next image of the Apache shows it right over his roof. I don't know, 50 feet, 75 feet, something like that. Residential neighborhood. Go ahead, Marcel.
Yeah, it's to be honest, it's quite frightening. I mean, especially the Chinooks. They're a big, heavy machine.
Yeah, giant.
Huge amounts of down draft, and going over a residential street like that is just, it's just unbelievable.
Okay, image number 3, after the one that is labeled My Roof, you'll see one of these enormous Chinooks coming in from the right. Now, I've seen these videos that John took of these, and I think the men on board, maybe there's some women, I don't know, didn't like being videotaped. He stood right out there and videotaped and took photographs. How many times have these things been over your home, John, approximately?
Well, since we've known each other in the last 12 years, nearly every day, I would say every week, on an occasion, I would say, well, how many days in a year? Well,
365 days a year.
Say half that. So every year, we'll be kind. We'll say 100 times a year. So we'll just be kind. And I've got video to prove all this. So since, 10 years. So, I mean, that's a lot that they've been over, isn't it? And
100 days a year times 10 years is 1,000 times they've come over your house.
It really is severe. Why are they coming so close? Why are they allowed to get away with it? And I've complained to the highest authorities. I've got proof of it. And they've ignored it and covered it up. It's still going on. And I get continued Merlins, I get Chinooks and Apache gunships coming so close that I've got video of me in the house, and I'm trying to talk to someone and ring them and complain, and this Merlin is above the house and it's distorting my voice on the tape, which I'm trying to talk to people. My voice is actually distorted because it's so low. And shaking the rooftops. I've been knocked over, and you're going to come to the bit where I've been blinded in my right eye by another helicopter, which is quite severe.
All right, let's move on down. The Chinook is coming. You'll see it. These are Vietnam-era helicopters. They've been around a long time. They're still using them in Afghanistan. It's enormous. Now look at the next picture. The roofline and the Chinook, it's a little bit away. It's not right over the roof there, but the perspective gives you an idea. This is a thunderous machine. You've all probably seen them go overhead from time to time when the military flies by. They're extremely loud. What did the authorities tell you, John, when you lodge your civilian complaint about this outrageous mental and physical terrorism, which is what it is?
It is, you're right. Well, I've sat down with the highest authorities. I've actually can prove that, because you're just about to show a picture of them. And I complained. They write it down. You never hear from them again. They just cover it up. I've been assaulted uptown. I've been punched. I've got that on video, which I can provide the video.
I remember that. When it happened.
Yeah. And up to the point of, showing some of the highest authorities. These aren't just normal police people I'm showing. These are chief of police and stuff I'm sitting with, chief inspectors. They're not just Joe Blogs. Mm-hmm. And, I've got video of CCTV of my house, why I'm not there, of undercover people trying to break into my home and forcing the windows opener and stuff like that. I've even got records of solicitors saying that they have looked at footage where people have come in and put cameras in my house, and I've got that, on film too, and I haven't even been here. It's just incredible the extent of this, which no one seems to realise, is one thing being an amateur astronomer, but the next level of getting a Chinook knocking you down in your garden, and I can prove it. It's not fiction, it's fact.
Well, we got more pictures to come here. Now, this is...
You can see me showing someone, can't you? You can see me showing... I'm holding it out to this chief inspector.
We're not there yet. Hold on. I got one more with it's a zoom. It looks like a UFO. To the left. Now you zoom that in. It's on the left edge of the picture, and then the zoom is in the upper left corner. So that's a craft, a disc-shaped craft in the distance. Half a mile away, maybe. Not even, I don't know, hard to say. It may well be monitoring what's going on here, watching. And the Chinook is turning to starboard, away from the residence there, moving down one more. Now this one is absolutely staggering. Look up through the tree, and what do you see? You see the bottom of a Chinook helicopter. You see the rotor blade at the top, and you see the body, about half the body, and that thing is coming right over his house, and the downdraft knocked John over.
Yeah. Some people have said that's like a model fake helicopter, but I can tell you it really hurt when it knocked me down, this massive, helicopter. It hurt me so much that I can't sit, on my bottom properly sometimes, that's how, and it's in, the funny thing is, it's in my medical records as classified. I got a Freedom of Information records about they didn't want to give it to me, but I eventually got it. And I kicked up such a fuss, and they gave it to me, and it says classified, then it says reclassified. And you should see what's in my medical notes. This picture, lots of other stuff, which I can't get into because I've been threatened and intimidated by a secret, what you might call, not the real police, but other higher than the police have knocked my door. I've got them on CCTV too, threatening and intimidate me. If I talk about a certain lady anymore, they'll grab me and put me in their dungeons, you might want to call it.
Oh, really? So, I'm not mentioning who this lady is, but I know. Yeah. And
that's a fact. I've got it all on film, and they know it. And I asked them, could you, because I said, I don't actually understand what you're trying to intimidate me with. Could you write to somebody, please, and tell them exactly what you're saying? And I got them to write to my doctor, and they did. And they just said it all, what they were saying. If I talked about a certain lady anymore, I'll be, action would be taken against me. So it's intimidating me to shut up. It's just not on.
I think the important thing here is, Jeff, is exactly what you're doing, is to get this information out to as many people as possible.
No, it's going. It's going. And we'll make a YouTube video of this as well, this program. And then when you come back next week, we'll try and get through the rest. What's that?
It'll be gone off your site, Jeff.
No, they'll be up. GCHQ hopefully will leave it alone and let people just figure that it's just all contrived, but it's not. It's not. Wait till we get to the moon. Now, all right, you've got a picture of a fellow with 2 diamonds on his epaulette and a white shirt and a tie. Show him proof. You're showing him proof that you were knocked down by the MOD choppers in the garden at your house. And you're showing him pictures right there. Yeah. And you're covering his face up because you don't want to invite any more trouble. Now, there's somebody in a picture down below. Who's that?
That's the one who punched me in broad daylight.
That's the guy. I remember that.
Government agent. Yeah, I've got it all on film, him saying he's a government agent and he punched me. I was walking along and I noticed someone had a bag in their hand and it had a hole in it, and he was pointing the hole at me, filming at me, coming towards me. I said, "Why are you filming me?" And he says, "Shut up, go away. I'm a government agent." I've got it all on film. And then I said, "Well, if you're filming me, I'll film you." So I pull out my camera, and he punches me in the head and the chest really quickly in like a very quick move. And my camera goes to the floor. I picks it up and follows him, and I start asking him, "Why did you punch me?" And he says, "I'll punch you again if you don't go away." I had to stay with my wife at the time, but he ran down the road. A friend of mine saw it happen and ran after him, and that man went in the back section of the police station. I went to the police station late afterwards and showed the chief inspector that's sitting there, and he said, "I'm sorry, I don't know the person." I explained where he ran into, where only the police can go into, and they said, "Sorry, no one's coming here of that description. We don't know him." But he did. He went in there, and he hit me really hard, and they've never found him. It really traumatized me when I was punched uptown. In broad daylight, if someone could come up to you and get away with, and there's a CCTV camera right above his head, and they could not find that footage. It was erased.
So the security camera above his head there out on that building, his portion was deleted.
It was deleted, yeah, and they just never got back to me. And the most funny thing is, you're not going to believe this. When I was in there, guess what we heard? A rumbling. So we run outside, and guess what's above? I've got it on video. Guess what's above the police station?
Another helicopter.
A massive Chinook, and there was a man cleaning the windows on a ladder, and it was rumbling so much. He was so shocked, and it was above the police station. He nearly come off the ladder. There was loads of witnesses.
Wow.
And that chief inspector said to me, "I'm sorry, I can't help you anymore. It's out of my hands. Too much red tape." And I was left to go away, then I took it much more higher levels to much more, higher, complaints departments like the Cabinet Office, the Home Office, and it's all been covered up. I don't exist about it. So, and now you're going to get onto something even worse if you go to the next picture.
Yeah. Well, let me say one other thing about all this. If GCHQ MI5 were told that Walson needs to be neutralized, you would have been dead long ago. They kill people all the time. You've got some protection somewhere at very high levels. They're harassing you, but I'm being optimistic here. I don't think their plan is to kill you, and I've suffered myself serious incidences like that, and all right, let's go to the next picture.
Yeah.
Now this is an image of a police helicopter searchlight. These are incredibly powerful lights, and if you look and see what it did, I don't know that it's a laser, but it's some kind of an arc.
It's an electrically charged one, an electrically charged beam. It's 30 million candle watts, so it's very powerful.
30 million candle watts. That's damn near laser power.
And it says in the manual, if you download the PDF, that at 20 feet it can set clothes on fire. And at no actual conditions should you point it at a human being at its focused point. It's used for being up at 500 feet and used for searching in a field, a wide field of view. It's like a little telescope there. And like I was explaining earlier on, a wide field of view that you can see on a focal length. This is also electrically charged and magnified, so it's actually can go to a wide field of view or a pinpoint view. Even when you're servicing it, as people have to, you have to wear. It says in the manual, like a welder's hat. You have to wear one of those just in case it comes off.
Wow.
And it can kill people at 20 feet. It can set their clothes on fire, melt their tires. It says at no point should you point it at a person at all.
Whose eye is that, John?
It's mine.
Can you still see?
Not out the right eye properly, no. I just see black and bright white spots. I've also sent your colleague the doctor's note where it proves that they wrote down damaged right eye by this helicopter beam, which is incredible. And that was written down. Luckily, someone was with me and took a photograph of the actual doctor's note. Guess what happened?
Gone.
A week later, that same doctor wrote to my family doctor saying it was an eye infection.
Oh, sure.
So they covered it up. But luckily, I've got the written, scribbled note, which is clearly visible in my notes, which are classified. That actually says it was a damaged right eye by the beam of light from the helicopter. And it's not fair that they go and cover that up, because that really happened. And the funny thing is, you can see me on the CCTV footage, which one of your colleagues has sent you. I'm standing outside the front door. You can see the beam come up my footpath and hit me straight in the head. And I'm holding my camera and filming, because I heard this noise, you see, and it was low fog, so you couldn't see what was above you. And all of a sudden, this helicopter came through the fog, hovered above the house, and this beam came straight out of the helicopter, straight at me, and got me straight in the eye.
Right.
It was terrible. It's all on film, so it's terrible. But never mind, I'm still here.
Yeah, you are. Marcel, have you been harassed for your part in helping John?
I personally have not had harassment. I've had a few weird things happen. I've had my laptop hacked and a few bits like that, but I've not had harassment like John's had. But we've been in certain circumstances where we've been out on our own, and luckily nothing's happened. And I think you're right. I don't think they plan to bump him off. I think that actually was too questions.
I think that would have happened long ago.
Yeah.
This is, it's out now. This is out. It's all over the world right now, and it's already been on your website, but now traffic to your site will only increase. And when people see the videos of the moon, which we're not going to get to tonight, you're not going to believe what John has found up there. These structures, buildings, all kinds of things. Not a joke. For real. Ours? I don't know. I would say quite probably we're involved. Remember what Buzz Aldrin said in the moon? He said they're parked on the edge of the crater. They're all watching us. That's what he said.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But on a fun note and a good note, isn't it a privilege? Number one, you, Jeff, all those years ago, talked about this, and it is the thing that's kept me going is the fun thing and the discovery and the just incredible, sort of privilege to be able to look up in the sky and look at, these wonderful planets and stars and things and objects in space, whatever you want to call them, and have these experiences. And it'd be wonderful to share these experiences with the world, not just with you, Jeff, but to do like a TV show or a series or something and show people how it's made, show people, go on location where you could use old and new equipment, go to famous locations where there's been famous phenomena happen, and you could use the camera that it was used on. You could use my new equipment and get, compare results on the famous Phoenix lights or something. You could go there, set up my equipment. You could put just imagine the old equipment that it was filmed on, my new equipment, put it side by side. You'd have a lovely TV show. You could present it to the world then, and go around and there's a wonderful sort of show in the UK called Shed and Buried. I mean, it'd be brilliant just to go around all the astronomy sheds all around the world, visit people, saying, what have you experienced? Should we try and find it with my equipment, and stuff like that? It'd be a brilliant show.
Oh, what a great idea. What a great idea. And yes, as we've said, there's so many astronomers out there, amateurs, whatever you want to call them, who have excellent equipment. They're very wise. They've done this for years and years. And that you're just describing a program that could be absolutely riveting. Wonderful program. It would. Will they allow it to be made, though? That's the question.
Well, that's the question, if you're listening.
Yeah.
The beauty is, Jeff, is as well that the sky is free to look up. The government cannot stop you looking up into the sky. So everybody out there needs to start looking up.
Yeah, that's a problem. I really do notice, I watch people, and a lot of people walk and they kind of look down. People don't look up. You're right. Yeah. They're cowed like sheep. They don't look up.
There's a good thing to leave this on. This on a positive note, instead of dwelling on past negative, like people coming to try and intimidate you. If you leave this on a positive note and go down to, there's just one nice picture I've seen there of the moon that you've got. It's just such a privilege to look up there and look at the moon so close and zoom in to something that should have been given to us as the public from NASA, from right back when they landed on the moon. They should have literally had this a live broadcast of our beautiful planets close up for the public to see. And I'm willing to give that as the hobby that I am doing for free, just share it with the world, You've got a lovely picture there of the moon and some craters. You imagine that broadcast once a week as a show or something live to the nation.
Just that they could look at your the spacecraft, space machines that you're getting, and show you actually capturing them on the screen, zooming in and watching them turn from a little white dot into this extraordinary object. The big question is, of course, who's up there? Who is it? Is it us? Is it somebody else? Don't know. But look at the one picture of the moon. We'll come back with John and Marcel next Monday night, and we will do part 2 of this. And I want to thank you, Marcel King, very much for being here. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right. Yep. And John, it's wonderful to talk to you again. It's been far too long, but the time is as it should be. We're here.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Talk to you next week.
Take care.
Thank you, Jeff. Take care.
You're welcome. All right, Marcel and John, and there's a program for you. So we'll do next week page 2 and page 3 of the images, and much more. All right, back tomorrow night.